Today in our 2017 Chevrolet Spark, we'll be installing the Roadmaster taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles, LED bulb and socket, part number RM-152-LED. Alright, here's what our light looks like installed. This towed vehicle lighting system is great because it isolates our towed vehicle lighting system completely from the vehicle's factory lights. Doesn't tie in any of the wiring at all. So if we have any electrical problems with our RV, it won't cause any damage at all to our vehicle's expensive lighting circuits. Those systems are also great because of the lights that we put in are LED, so they're brighter and they'll last a very long time. You won't have to worry about changing a bulb out more frequently. This system also allows us to safely flat tow our Chevrolet Spark behind our RV and have all the lighting functions required by law in order to safely do so. Now that we've gone over some of the features of our Roadmaster LED kit, we'll show you how to get it installed. All right, we already have our 4-pole wiring routed behind our fascia inside this conduit that comes with the kit, and it's already hooked up to our connector. We're using part number RM-98146-7 as our umbilical kit, which comes with our 7 to our 6-pole cable, our connector with a 6 round here. So we need all that in order to use this properly in our vehicle. So we follow on up. I'll show you where our wire is. Our 4-pole wiring came up behind our fascia right here. You can see it exposed right here. You want to make sure you leave a little bit of slack in this in case you're using a standalone braking system which taps into it. We'll be doing that later, so we did that. We routed this down behind our battery, down behind our engine, making sure we avoided any moving parts and sources of heat, and we'll show you how we routed it right now to the back of the vehicle. Our wire went behind our engine and our transmission, followed along our firewall, went above the rear of our subframe here. Then we fish wired it through this channel where it comes out of the back. Make sure we zip tied it to this parking brake cable here to keep it away from the exhaust. Do that in a couple locations. You want to keep in mind when routing your cable to avoid any moving parts or sources of heat. Went over here to this cable here, and we tucked it back up inside our frame again for about a foot, where we came out here at the very end. Now it's right behind where our tail lights are, so we'll be able to pull it up once we remove our tail lights and make our connections. We'll start by removing our 2 Phillips head screws that hold our tail light housings in place. Grab our taillight housing and pull it out towards us. Twist out the 3 bulb sockets that we have here. And we'll repeat the same process for the other side. All right, we dropped down a pull wire here. We used a piece of airline tubing for that. You can use a coat hanger or something else that you have that you can fish behind your bumper cover here. We taped our 4-pole flat wiring to that, and now we'll pull it up behind our taillight. Now for the LED bulb and socket that we're installing, we need to install it in the red part of our housing, which is where our factory taillight and brake light are. So we'll flip our housing over here. I already made a mark right here where we're going to drill our hole. We'll be using a 1-inch hole saw in order to do this. So I'll just stick it right there, get it started. We'll hold it up at an angle like this so all the shavings fall right out of it. Alright, now we'll take a flathead screwdriver here and just slightly bend out these tangs on our socket. This will allow it to bite into the hole we just drilled and keep it from coming out easily. With those bent out and pushed in the hole we just drilled, you may have to adjust some of them slightly if it's not going in easily. Okay, with that on, we'll run a bead of RTV sealant around it to help keep any condensation from forming inside our taillight housing. If you need to purchase some, we have this available on our website. Now that we have good coverage all the way around, we'll take our finger here, just smear this in, making sure we get a nice good seal around the edge of the socket. Alright, we'll let this dry up here for a few minutes, and we'll repeat the same process on the other side. Alright, so we'll take the end of our 4-pole wiring here that we brought up on our driver's side taillight, and we'll separate all 4 of the wires and pull them back as far as we can. All right, we're on our driver's side of the vehicle now that we have our tail light taken care of. We're going to make our connection here for our driver's side turn signal and brake light. That's the yellow wire, and then I'll go to the red wire here. So I'll measure off how much wire we're going to need. Make sure we have some slack so we can remove the light assembly if we need to change a bulb in it. Strip off some of the insulation here. Take our blue butt connector that's provided with the kit, slide it over the yellow wire, crimp that on down, and we'll connect it to our red wire. And we'll crimp that on down too. We'll measure off our brown wire here. This is for our tail light. That'll go to our brown wire. We'll keep the brown wire because we'll need it. Strip off some of the insulation here. Take the other end that we cut off, strip back some of the insulation from it, and we'll twist these two together. We'll take a yellow butt connector now, put that over that end, and we'll crimp it down. Now on our brown wire that comes off of our bulb that we installed in the light assembly, we'll strip off a little more insulation than what we need. Twist it all together, and we'll fold it in half. This will make the wire thicker, so it'll go into the heavier gauge butt connector easier, and we'll crimp that down too. Okay, our white wire here is our ground. We'll measure off how much we need again, trim off the excess. Now, we'll measure from the end of this white wire here to where we're going to ground it on the chassis of our vehicle. Right about here will be fine, so we'll take this section here, cut it off, strip out the end on both, twist them together. We'll use the yellow butt connector again, and we'll crimp them down. The end that we are using as our ground to the vehicle chassis, we'll strip off some insulation, and we'll attach the ring terminal. And we'll crimp that down like so. And then we'll attach it with the included self-tapping screw right here. Use a 5/16 nut driver to install this. And that'll give us a nice solid ground point. Now one more end of our white wire here. We'll strip off some of the insulation and we'll tie it into our black wire over here. Twist these two together, connect it to the butt connector here. Now our wire that we have left over, the brown wire and the white wire that we added on, plus the green wire, we can drop back down underneath the bumper because we will be using these on the passenger side of our vehicle. Now we'll wrap all of our butt connectors up here with electrical tape. This will just help keep moisture from entering, causing corrosion and possibly causing a short. We'll do the same for all of our butt connectors. Now we'll start by reinstalling all of our factory bulbs in their proper locations. There we go. We'll push our taillight assembly back in its original location. Make sure our guide pins line up just right. We'll reinstall our screws to secure our taillight housing. Take our pull wire again and go down the passenger side. All right, with our pull wire pulled down, we'll route it over to our driver's side, making sure we go over our tabs that hold our bumper cover in place. This is where we will connect our wires that we drop down from the driver's side to. This will keep it from falling under our exhaust and hide all of our wires behind our bumper cover. And we'll connect our wires to it, just like we did on the other side. Okay, we'll pull our wires up to the passenger side now, and we'll remove our pull wire. And we'll just measure off how much of our ground wire we're gonna need. Make sure we leave slack once again. All right, now we got our butt connectors and our 3 wires. Our green wire is the new wire that we have this time. This goes to our red wire. Now our green wire here is our new wire. This is for our brake light and turn signal on our passenger side. This goes to the red wire on our socket. So we'll crimp that down. And our white wire is our ground wire. This goes to the black wire. Crimp that down. That leaves us with our taillight wire function, which is our brown wire again, which goes to the brown wire. Okay, we'll make sure all the wires and our connectors nice and tight. Now we'll wrap up our butt connectors like we did on the other side. And we'll reinstall all of our taillight, turn signal, and reverse light bulbs. Reinstall our screws now. All right, we have our vehicle plugged into a tester here. We'll use this to test our functions. We have them available on our website if you'd like to purchase one, or you can just plug into your RV or your truck to test your lighting out. So we'll go ahead and turn our tail lights on and see if everything's working. We'll try our right turn signal and brake light now. That's working good too. Now we'll do our left. That's working good here too. And that completes our installation of the Roadmaster taillight wiring kit for towed vehicles with LED bulb and socket, part number RM-152-LED on our 2017 Chevrolet Spark.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.